You wake up and already the list is forming, the things you need to do, the things you should have done yesterday, the things that will prove, once again, that you are someone who matters. You reach for your phone, for your calendar, for the small tasks that can be checked off quickly, not because they're urgent, not because they're important, but because you need to feel the momentum. You need to see the evidence accumulating. Evidence that you exist, evidence that you're not wasting the day, evidence that you're worth something. And maybe you've noticed this, maybe you felt it, the way you can't quite sit still, the way even rest feels like failure. The way you measure your morning by what you've accomplished before breakfast, as if your value is being calculated somewhere by someone, and you're terrified of what the number might say if you stop moving. You tell yourself it's discipline. You tell yourself it's ambition. You tell yourself you're just someone who likes to get things done. But underneath that story, there's something else. Something quieter. Something you don't want to look at. The fear that if you stopped performing, if you stopped producing, if you stopped proving yourself through what you accomplish, there would be nothing left. Just you. And maybe that wouldn't be enough. So you keep going. You keep adding to the list. You keep finding new projects, new goals, new ways to demonstrate your usefulness. And it feels good, doesn't it, for a moment, when you finish something. When you can point to what you've done and say, "See, I did that." It feels like relief, like you've earned another day of existing. But the relief doesn't last. It never does, because tomorrow you'll have to prove it again. Tomorrow the list will reform. Tomorrow you'll wake up with that same hollow feeling, that same quiet panic that whispers, "What if you don't do enough today? What if you fall behind? What if people realize you're not as productive as they thought, and you can't quite rest, even when you try? Even when you sit down, when you take a break, when you tell yourself it's okay to do nothing, there's this background hum of anxiety, this sense that the clock is ticking, that you're losing time, that every moment not spent producing is a moment wasted, a moment that could have added to your worth. You built your identity on what you do, on how much you can handle, on how efficiently you can move through your day. And now you're trapped inside it, because if you stop, if you slow down, if you let yourself be unproductive, who are you then? The Buddha said, "You are not your work. You are not your accomplishments. You are not what you produce. But you've been living as if you are. As if your value can be measured in tasks completed, in goals achieved, in the visible proof of your effort. And so you perform. You perform productivity. You perform busyness. You perform importance, not because you love the work, not because it brings you peace, but because you're terrified of the silence that would come without it. And the exhaustion is real. You feel it in your body, in your mind, in the way you can't quite remember the last time you felt truly at ease. But you can't stop, because stopping feels like disappearing. What if you're only valuable because you're useful? What if people only care about you because of what you provide? What if, without your productivity, without your constant doing, you'd be overlooked, forgotten, irrelevant? These fears don't announce themselves clearly. They hide beneath the surface. They disguise themselves as motivation, as drive, as responsibility. But they're there, shaping every choice, whispering that rest is dangerous, that doing nothing is the same as being nothing. And maybe you've already noticed that it's never enough. No matter how much you do, the fear returns. No matter how productive you are, the question remains, am I worth something now? Have I done enough today to justify my existence? You're performing for an audience that isn't there, for a judge who never speaks, for a standard that keeps moving just out of reach. And the performance is exhausting you, not because the work itself is too much, but because you're trying to earn something that was never meant to be earned. Something that can't be produced or achieved or checked off a list. You're here, right now, whether you're productive or not. You're breathing. You're alive. And that isn't something you created through effort. It isn't something you have to maintain through performance. But you don't trust that, do you? You don't trust that you could be enough without the doing, without the proof, without the constant evidence that you matter. So you keep moving, and the fear keeps moving with you. And somewhere underneath all of it, there's just this, the quiet terror of being seen as you are, without accomplishment as armor. You reach for your phone before the silence settles. You turn on music while you cook. You fill the drive with podcasts, the evening with shows, the space between tasks with noise. And somewhere beneath all of it, there's a question you don't want to hear. What am I running from when I fill every moment of silence? You know this pattern, the way your hand moves automatically, the way silence feels like a threat instead of just silence. The way you've convinced yourself you're being productive, staying informed, making good use of time. But if you're honest, really honest, you know it's something else. It's not about the silence itself. Silence is just air, just space. What you're running from is what rises in that space. The thoughts that surface when there's nothing to drown them out. The feelings that have been waiting, patient, just beneath the noise. The restlessness that has nowhere to go when you finally stop moving. You fill the silence because in the silence you meet yourself. And maybe that meeting doesn't feel safe. Maybe what rises is worry about tomorrow or regret about yesterday. Maybe it's the feeling that you're not enough or that you're too much. Maybe it's loneliness even when you're not alone. Maybe it's just a vague discomfort you can't name, an unease that has no clear source. So you reach for something, anything. You fill the space before the space can fill you. But notice what happens in that reaching. Notice the urgency in it, the way it feels like escape. You're not choosing the noise because you want it. You're choosing it because you don't want what's underneath. And in that moment, you're telling yourself that what's inside you is unbearable. You're saying that your own presence, your own experience is something to avoid. This is how suffering multiplies. Not just once, but again and again. First there's the discomfort, the thought, the feeling. Then there's the running. Then there's the exhaustion of running. Then there's the guilt about running. Then there's the noise you've surrounded yourself with, which never quite works, which never quite fills what it promised to fill. And beneath it all, the silence is still there, waiting, patient, unchanged, unchanged. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're creating a different kind of pain. The pain of never resting, the pain of constant vigilance, the pain of being afraid of your own mind. You've made an enemy of stillness. You've made a threat of your own company. But the thoughts you're avoiding, they don't go away just because you cover them. They don't dissolve just because you distract yourself. They wait. They accumulate. They grow louder in their silence, more insistent in their patience. And the more you run, the more you confirm to yourself that they're dangerous, that you can't handle them, that you need protection from yourself. What if they're not dangerous? What if they're just passing? What if the thought that feels so heavy is only heavy because you're carrying it and running at the same time? The Buddha said, nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded, not the thoughts themselves, the unguarded relationship with them, the running, the resistance, the belief that you need to escape. You've been filling silence for so long, you've forgotten what it actually contains. You think it's a void, an emptiness that will swallow you. But maybe it's just space. Space where things arise and pass. Space where nothing needs to be fixed or solved or managed. Space where you don't have to be anything other than aware. The discomfort you're running from, it's not permanent. It rises, it peaks, it fades. The thought you're avoiding, it appears, it changes, it dissolves. The feeling underneath it moves like weather. But you never see this because you never stay. You leave before the storm passes. You run before the wave completes. And so you never learn that you can hold it, that you can sit with it, that it won't destroy you. You never discover that the thing you're most afraid of is just another experience, just another moment, just another passing event in the vast space of your awareness. You're not running from silence. You're running from impermanence, from the instability of your own experience, from the fact that nothing stays, nothing holds, nothing offers the solid ground you're searching for, not the noise, not the distraction, not the constant motion. And you can't outrun that. You can only meet it, or keep running. The silence isn't asking you to fix anything. It's not demanding that you be different. It's just here. And so is what rises in it. And so are you. Just here. Just this. Just now. You know what you're doing. You're sitting there, phone in hand, thumb moving, eyes scanning, something pulling you forward from one image to the next, one post to the next, one bright little moment to the next. And somewhere underneath that movement, underneath that reaching, you know what you're avoiding. You're avoiding sitting here with yourself. Not with your thoughts exactly, not even with your feelings, though they're there too, waiting. You're avoiding the simple fact of being here, in this chair, in this room, in this body, with nothing happening, nothing to consume, nothing to chase. Just you, present, still. And that feels unbearable, doesn't it? So you scroll. You reach for the phone before you even notice the impulse. You open the app before you remember deciding to. And suddenly you're somewhere else, not here, not with yourself, but lost in the lives of others, the opinions of strangers, the endless stream of something, anything other than this moment. But notice what's happening. You're not actually leaving. You're still sitting in the same chair. The discomfort you're running from is still here. It's just covered now, numbed, pushed down under the weight of all that content, all that noise. And the strange thing is, the scrolling doesn't make it go away. It makes it worse. Because now you're uncomfortable and you're scrolling. Now you're restless and you're avoiding. Now there's the original feeling you didn't want to sit with. And there's also this new layer of knowing you're running, knowing you're hiding, knowing you're doing the thing you said you wouldn't do again. And still you scroll. What are you so afraid of? What is it about sitting here, just sitting here with yourself, that feels so threatening? Maybe it's the silence. Maybe it's what rises up when you stop moving. The thoughts you've been outrunning. The feelings you've been postponing. The questions you don't want to answer. The emptiness that opens up when nothing is happening, when you're not achieving or consuming or becoming anything at all. Maybe it's just the rawness of being here, unoccupied, undefended. You think the scrolling is giving you something, a little hit of interest, a moment of escape, a brief sense of connection. But watch closely. Watch what happens after each scroll. There's a moment, just a flash, where you feel more empty than before, more restless, more hungry. And so you scroll again, reaching for the next thing and the next, trying to fill something that can't be filled this way. You're feeding a hunger that grows with every bite. The Buddha said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." And right now, you're becoming someone who can't sit still with themselves. Someone who needs constant stimulation, constant movement, constant elsewhere. Not because that's who you are, but because that's what you're practicing. Every time you reach for the phone instead of staying here, you're training yourself to leave. You're teaching yourself that this moment, this simple presence, isn't enough. But what if it is enough? What if the discomfort you're avoiding isn't something wrong with you, but just the feeling of being alive, unfiltered? What if the restlessness isn't a problem to solve, but just energy moving through you, asking to be felt? You don't have to like it, you don't have to want it, but you could stop running from it. You could put the phone down, not forever. Not as some grand declaration or new commitment. Just now, just for this moment. You could let yourself sit here, uncomfortable, restless, uncertain, and see what happens when you stop trying to escape. You might find that the discomfort has a shape, a texture, a beginning and an end. You might find that it moves, that it changes, that it isn't as solid as you thought. You might find that you can sit with yourself even when it's uncomfortable, even when nothing is happening, even when you're not being entertained or distracted or soothed. Or you might just find that you're here, that you've always been here, that all the scrolling, all the avoiding, all the running never actually took you anywhere at all. The phone is still in your hand. The impulse to scroll is still there. The discomfort is still there. Everything is still here. And so are you. Sitting with yourself, avoiding yourself, knowing both at once. What happens if you just stay? You're moving quickly through your day, aren't you? One thing to the next, checking your phone between tasks, scrolling while you eat, thinking about the next email while you're still writing this one. There's this low hum of urgency that follows you everywhere, even when nothing is actually urgent. And maybe you've noticed something. You're always leaning forward, always reaching toward the next moment, as if this one isn't quite it, as if something better, something more complete, is waiting just around the corner, in the next hour. After this meeting, once you finish this project, when you finally have time to rest, but when you get there, to that next moment you are rushing toward, what happens? You're already gone again, already looking ahead. The moment you arrive, you're reaching past it. This is what rushing does. It convinces you that now is not enough, that this breath, this task, this ordinary moment is something to move through quickly so you can get to the real moment, the one that will finally satisfy, the one where you'll feel caught up, complete, at peace. But think about it. When was the last time a moment actually felt like enough? When did you arrive somewhere and feel deeply that you could stop reaching? That you'd found what you were looking for? It doesn't happen, does it? Because the rushing isn't about getting somewhere. It's about running from here. From this moment that feels incomplete, insufficient, not quite right. And so you move. You speed up. You fill the space. You keep your hands busy and your mind occupied, because if you slow down, you might feel what you're actually feeling. The restlessness, the quiet dissatisfaction, the sense that something is missing. And what you're looking for in the next moment, you're also looking for in the next purchase, the next achievement, the next distraction, the next notification. It's the same reaching. The same belief that somewhere else, something else, will finally be it. But every moment you rush through is a moment you've decided isn't enough. And when you live like that, no moment will ever be enough. Because you're not actually experiencing them, you're using them, you're trading them for the fantasy of a future moment that will feel different. The Buddha said, the trouble is, you think you have time. And maybe that's part of it. You think you can rush through now because later you'll slow down, later you'll be present, later you'll appreciate things. But later is just another now that you'll rush through, isn't it? Later is just another moment you'll spend leaning forward, reaching past, believing the next one will finally be it. So what's actually happening here? You're creating your own scarcity, your own insufficiency. Not because this moment lacks anything, but because you're refusing to be in it. You're standing in the middle of your life, and you're somewhere else. Planning, anticipating, bracing, escaping. And the exhaustion you feel, that bone-deep tiredness, it isn't from doing too much. It's from never landing, from never arriving, from spending every moment of your life in transit, moving toward a destination that doesn't exist. Because here's what you're not seeing. The next moment won't be enough either. It can't be. Not because there's something wrong with it, but because you'll bring the same rushing mind to it, the same restlessness, the same belief that fulfillment is always one step ahead. This moment, right now, is the only moment that exists, and you're here, but you're not here, you're already gone. already building a future in your mind that will feel just as insufficient as this one when you get there. What if the rushing itself is the problem? Not what you're rushing toward or away from, but the rushing, the constant movement, the refusal to be where you are. You don't have to fix this. You don't have to stop rushing or force yourself to slow down. You just have to see it. See how you're doing it. See how you're trading this moment for an imaginary one. See how you're creating the very insufficiency you're trying to escape. And maybe, in the seeing, something shifts. Not because you figured it out or solved it, but because you stopped running long enough to notice that you're running. That the ground beneath your feet is here. That the breath in your chest is now. That this moment, exactly as it is, isn't asking you to rush past it. It's just here. And so are you. You've been keeping score. Maybe not with a pen and paper, but you've been counting. Every finished task, every completed project, every checked box. You've been adding them up, tallying them somewhere inside yourself, and then looking at that number as if it tells you something essential about who you are. What are you measuring, really? You say it's accomplishment. You say it's productivity. But sit with it for a moment. When you finish something and feel that brief satisfaction, what is it you're actually feeling? And when you don't finish, when the day ends and the list is still long, what is that heaviness in your chest measuring? It's measuring whether you're enough. You've turned your worth into a calculation, as if you could earn your right to exist. As if there's some invisible ledger in the universe and you have to keep adding to your side, or else, what? You'll be revealed as insufficient, undeserving, less than. Watch how this works in you. You complete something and there's a moment of relief, a moment where you feel okay, acceptable. But notice how quickly that fades, how soon the next thing appears on the list, how the feeling of being enough never quite stays, because it can't stay. You're measuring yourself against something that keeps moving. Today's accomplishment is tomorrow's baseline. What felt like success last month feels ordinary now. You've built a system where you can never rest, because rest feels like falling behind, like losing ground, like becoming worthless. And so you keep pushing, keep doing, keep adding to the pile of proof that you matter. But the pile is never high enough, is it? There's always someone doing more, always another level you haven't reached, always that quiet voice asking, is this really enough? What you're measuring is your fear. The fear that without the doing, there's nothing there. That if you stop producing, stop achieving, stop adding to the score, you'll discover you're empty. That your value is conditional. That love, respect, belonging, all of it depends on what you can show for yourself. You've confused motion with meaning, activity with aliveness, the number of things you complete with the depth of your existence. But here's what's actually happening. You're exhausting yourself trying to prove something that can't be proven this way. You're trying to solve the question of your worth with evidence, with results, with external validation. And it doesn't work. It's never worked. Because worth isn't something you accumulate. It's not a score that goes up or down based on what you did today. The Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Not you after you finish the project. Not you once you've achieved enough. You, right now, in this moment, regardless of what you've done or haven't done. But you don't believe that, do you? Or you can't feel it. Because you've been trained to think that worth is earned, that it's conditional, that it has to be justified. So you keep measuring. Keep counting, keep trying to reach some invisible threshold where finally, you'll be allowed to feel okay about yourself, where you can stop proving and start resting. Except that threshold doesn't exist. What you're measuring isn't really accomplishment at all. You're measuring your anxiety about not being enough. You're measuring how far you are from some imagined standard of acceptability. You're measuring the distance between who you are and who you think you need to be in order to deserve peace. And the measuring itself is the suffering. Because every time you count, you reinforce the belief that you need to count. Every time you check your worth against your output, you strengthen the idea that the two are connected. You're training yourself to be afraid of stillness, to be terrified of a day where nothing gets done, to see rest as a kind of death. Watch what happens when you sit quietly and do nothing for even a few minutes. Notice the restlessness, the guilt, the feeling that you should be doing something. That's not laziness you're feeling. That's the belief that your existence needs to be justified moment by moment with proof of your usefulness. You've turned yourself into a machine that must produce in order to have value. But you're not a machine, you're a person. And your worth isn't something that fluctuates based on performance. It's not a stock price, it's not a grade, it's not a number on a scale that goes up when you do well and down when you don't. What you're measuring is the gap between reality and the story you're telling yourself about what you need to be. And that gap is where you live now. In the space between what you've done and what you think you should have done. Between who you are and who you imagine you need to become. And in that gap, there's no peace. There's only the endless counting, the endless measuring, the endless trying to prove something that was never in question. Sit with that for a moment. Not to fix it, not to stop it, just to see it clearly. You are measuring your fear of not mattering. And the measuring itself keeps the fear alive. You know you're doing it. You know you're keeping yourself busy, keeping yourself distracted, keeping yourself moving from one thing to the next. And somewhere beneath all that motion, there's a question you don't want to answer. What would happen if you stopped? What would you find there, in the stillness you keep avoiding? It's not that you don't have time to stop. You have time. You fill it deliberately with scrolling and planning and worrying and doing. You fill it with noise. Because the silence underneath feels dangerous somehow. Like if you actually paused, actually looked at what's here, without the buffer of distraction, something unbearable would rise to the surface. So you keep moving. You keep your mind occupied. You keep telling yourself you'll rest later, you'll stop later, you'll finally have peace when this is done, or that is handled, or everything is just a little more in order. But later never comes, does it? There's always something else to fill the space. What are you running from? Maybe it's the feeling you've been pushing down for weeks, that heaviness in your chest that appears the moment you're not busy enough to ignore it. That sense of something being wrong, something being off, something being incomplete in your life. As long as you're moving, you don't have to feel it fully. As long as you're doing, you don't have to face it. Or maybe it's the questions you don't want to answer. Questions about whether you're living the life you actually want. Questions about whether all this effort is taking you anywhere meaningful. Questions about who you'd be without all the roles you're performing, all the identities you're maintaining. Those questions require stillness to hear. So you don't give them stillness. You've made motion into a shield. Busyness has become your protection. And every moment you keep yourself occupied, you're reinforcing the belief that what's underneath is too much, that you can't handle it, that stopping would mean collapsing. But here's what's actually happening. The fear isn't about what's there. The fear is about not knowing what's there. It's the uncertainty itself that frightens you. You built an entire life around avoiding a feeling you haven't even fully met yet. You're running from a ghost. And the irony is this, the running creates more suffering than the stopping ever would. Because you're tired, you're so tired. All this motion, all this distraction, all this effort to avoid what's here, it exhausts you, it drains you. And still, you keep going, because stopping feels more dangerous than the exhaustion. You think if you stop, you'll have to confront your loneliness, your disappointment, your grief. Your fear that you're not enough, that you've wasted time, that you're further behind than you should be. You think these things will overwhelm you. but they're already here. They're here right now, underneath the motion. You haven't escaped them by staying busy. You've just refused to turn and look at them directly. And that refusal, that constant turning away, that's where the suffering lives. The Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. What you're clinging to is the idea that movement will save you. That if you just keep going, keep achieving, keep improving, keep distracting, you'll eventually outrun the discomfort. But you can't outrun what's inside you. It travels with you. It waits for you. And the faster you run, the more exhausted you become, and the heavier it feels when it finally catches up. Stopping doesn't mean everything will fall apart. Stopping means you finally allow yourself to see what's been here all along. And yes, it might be uncomfortable. Yes, it might be sad or empty or uncertain. But it's also just what's here. It's not a monster. It's not a catastrophe. It's just the truth of this moment without the story you've been telling about it. You're afraid that if you stop moving, you'll discover you're lost. But maybe you're already lost, and the motion is just keeping you from admitting it. Maybe stopping is the only way to find out where you actually are. And maybe what's here isn't as unbearable as you think. Maybe it's just quiet. Maybe it's just real. Maybe it's just the life you've been too afraid to meet. You don't have to stop forever. You don't have to sit in stillness for hours. You just have to stop long enough to see what you've been running from, to let it be here without fixing it or changing it or pushing it away. The fear will tell you this is dangerous. The fear will tell you to keep moving. But the fear is just another thing that's here. Another visitor, another wave passing through. What if you let it be here too? You reach for your phone again. Before you even know you're doing it, your hand is already moving. Another video, another scroll, another song, another message. You're feeling something. You can feel it, can't you? This quiet urgency, this need to keep moving, keep consuming, keep the stream flowing. And maybe you've noticed what happens when you stop. When the screen goes dark, when the music ends, when you're just sitting there with nothing to do, there's this feeling. It rises up so quickly you almost don't catch it. Empty, hollow. Like standing in a room where all the furniture has been removed. You don't like it. Who would? So you reach again. You fill it. You cover it. You keep yourself occupied, entertained, stimulated, busy. Always busy. Even when you're resting, you're busy. Even when you're alone, you're not really alone because the noise is there, the light is there, the distraction is there. But what are you actually running from? It's not really emptiness, is it? It's the fear of emptiness. It's what you imagine emptiness means. That if you stop, if you're quiet, if you let yourself feel what's actually here, you'll discover there's nothing. That you're nothing. That life is nothing. And that thought is unbearable. So you keep moving. You keep seeking. You keep feeding yourself stimulation like someone who can't stop eating because they're afraid of hunger. But the hunger never goes away. It just grows quieter for a moment, then returns. Stronger. More demanding. You tell yourself you're just relaxing, just unwinding, just taking a break. But watch closely. Watch what's actually happening. You're not at rest. Your mind is racing from one thing to the next. Your attention is being pulled, scattered, fragmented into 1,000 tiny pieces. You're restless, agitated. Even when your body is still, something inside you is running. And the stimulation promises so much. It promises relief. It promises satisfaction. It promises that this next thing, this next click, this next episode, this next song will finally be enough. But it never is it? You finish one thing and immediately you're looking for the next. The relief lasts seconds. The emptiness returns. Because you're not actually filling anything, you're just covering it. You're putting layer after layer over something you don't want to see. And the more you cover it, the more you need to cover it. The more you run, the more you're convinced there's something to run from. What if the emptiness isn't what you think it is? What if it's not a void, not a lack, not a problem to be solved? What if it's just space, just openness? just the natural pause between one breath and the next. You've been taught to fear it, to fill it, to never let it be. But maybe it's been trying to show you something all along. The Buddha said, "In the seen, there is only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. In the sensed, only the sensed. In the cognized, only the cognized." You keep adding to what's here. You keep layering meaning, fear, stories, needs onto this moment. And then you have to keep running from what you've created. The emptiness you fear is not the emptiness that's actually here. It's the emptiness you imagine. The one you built in your mind. The one that says if you stop moving, you'll disappear. But you won't disappear. You'll just be here. And maybe that's what's actually frightening, not the emptiness, but the simplicity. The ordinariness, the fact that this moment, without all the noise and stimulation, is just this, nothing special, nothing grand, just here. And maybe you've been running from that, from the quiet truth that life doesn't need to be constantly exciting to be life, that you don't need to be constantly entertained to exist, that the space between things isn't dead space, it's just space. You can see it now, can't you? This pattern, this reaching, this filling, this fear. You've been doing it for so long you thought it was just who you are. But it's not who you are. It's just what you're doing. A habit, a reflex, a way of protecting yourself from something that was never actually dangerous. The stimulation will keep calling, it always does, and you'll probably keep reaching for a while. But now you've seen it. You've seen the mechanism, the grasping, the fear underneath, and once you see it, something shifts. Not all at once, not dramatically, but quietly, like light slowly filling a room. You don't have to fix this. You don't have to stop seeking stimulation or force yourself to sit in emptiness. You just have to see what's actually happening, see the reaching, see the fear, see the story you're telling yourself about what emptiness means. And in the seeing, something loosens. Not because you've solved anything, but because you've stopped running long enough to look. You fill your days, don't you? One thing after another. The calendar packed, the to-do list growing even as you cross things off. You move quickly, you stay in motion. And somewhere underneath all that movement, there's a question you don't quite let yourself hear. What are you proving? Not in theory. Not as an interesting idea to consider someday, right now, with this busyness, with the way you say yes when you want to say no, with the way you check your phone between tasks, searching for the next thing that needs you, with the way you feel guilty when you sit still. What are you proving, and to whom? Maybe you're proving you matter, that you're valuable, that you deserve the space you take up in the world. Because if you stopped, if you slowed down, what would be left? Just you. And maybe that's not enough. Maybe you believe for so long that your worth comes from what you produce, what you accomplish, how much you can handle. So you keep moving. You keep proving. Or maybe you're proving you're not lazy, not selfish, not one of those people who wastes time. You can feel the judgment, can't you? Even when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching. There's this invisible audience always there, and you perform for them. You show them how hard you work, how much you care, how you never stop trying. But who are they? Your parents, maybe. Their voices still living in your head, telling you what matters, what counts, what makes someone worthy. Your colleagues, your friends, people who might be judging you or might not be thinking about you at all. And still you arrange your life around what they might think. You exhaust yourself for an audience that may not even exist. The Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. And yet here you are, working so hard to earn it from everyone else. You feel it, don't you? The weight of it. This constant need to demonstrate something, to prove you're enough, to show you're not falling behind, to make sure no one can say you didn't try hard enough, and the exhaustion that comes with that. The way your body holds tension even when you're resting. The way your mind won't stop planning, organizing, preparing for what's next. Because if you stop proving, what happens then? You might have to face the fear that you're not enough as you are. That your value isn't inherent. That love and belonging are things you have to earn over and over, and you can never earn enough. You might have to feel the uncertainty of not knowing what people think of you, not controlling their perception, not managing your image. And that's terrifying, so you stay busy, you keep proving. But notice what's happening. You're building your life around a fear, around a story about what you need to be, and that story is never satisfied. You can fill every hour of every day, and still the voice says, more. You can accomplish everything on your list, and still the voice says, not enough. The finish line keeps moving. The proof is never sufficient, because you're trying to prove something that can't be proven. You're trying to earn something that can only be given freely, or not at all. You're trying to become worthy when worthiness isn't something you achieve. It's something you already have, or it's something you'll never have. And either way, the busyness doesn't change it. And all the while, your life is passing. The moments you're too busy to notice, the people you're too distracted to see, the quiet that you're too afraid to enter. You trade your presence for productivity. You trade your peace for proof. What if you stopped proving just for a moment? Not forever, not as a decision or a change, just stopped. Let the fear be there. Let the uncertainty be there. Let the voice that says you're not doing enough be there without answering it, without defending yourself, without filling the space with more motion. What would you find? Maybe just tiredness. Maybe just the ache of always performing. Maybe just the simple truth that you've been running and you don't know why anymore, and you're not sure you ever did. You don't have to fix this. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to stop being busy tomorrow, but you can see it. You can see what you're doing, what you're proving, who you're proving it to, and you can see that it's optional. That it's a choice you're making moment by moment, even when it doesn't feel like a choice. The busyness will probably continue. The proving will probably continue. But maybe, just maybe, you can see it for what it is, not a necessity, not who you are, just something you're doing, just a pattern, just fear dressed up as productivity, and in that seeing, something loosens. Not everything, not forever, just a little, just enough to breathe. You sit down. You close your eyes for a moment. You feel your body sink into the chair, and immediately something tightens in your chest. There's a voice, quiet but insistent. It says, everyone else is doing something, everyone else is moving forward. And here you are still. This isn't just tiredness. This is the feeling that rest itself has become a kind of betrayal, a failure of will, a falling behind. You scroll through your phone and see them. The friend who's training for a marathon, the co-worker who's learning a new language, the person you went to school with who just launched something, built something, became something, and you're lying on your couch. You're staring at the ceiling. You're doing nothing. And nothing feels like proof. Proof that you're lazy. Proof that you're wasting your life. Proof that you don't have what it takes. But notice what's happening here. Notice how rest has been turned into a crime. How stillness has become evidence of your inadequacy. You're not just resting, you're measuring your rest against their movement. You're weighing your pause against their progress. And in that comparison, you disappear. Because it's not really about them, is it? It's about the story you're telling yourself while they move. The story that says, if you're not moving, you're falling. If you're not producing, you're failing. If you're not becoming more, you're becoming less. And so rest becomes impossible. Because rest requires that you stop measuring. Rest requires that you stop comparing. Rest requires that you let go of the race you didn't even know you entered. But you can't let go, because letting go feels like losing, and losing feels like dying. So you lie there exhausted, unable to rest, because resting would mean admitting that you're not enough, that you haven't done enough, that you are, in this moment, just this, just tired, just still, just here. And here is never enough when you're watching someone else be there. Notice how the mind does this. Notice how it takes your exhaustion and turns it into failure. How it takes their movement and turns it into judgment. You don't know if they're happy. You don't know if they're suffering. You don't know what it costs them to keep moving. But you use them anyway. You use them as proof of your inadequacy. This is how suffering is made, not from resting, but from the story you tell about resting. The Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your compassion. But you don't give yourself compassion. You give yourself comparison. You give yourself conditions. You say, I can rest when I've earned it. I can stop when I've done enough. I can be still when I've proven I'm not lazy." But enough never comes. Because enough is not a destination. It's a feeling you've been trained not to feel. And so you keep moving, even when your body begs you to stop. Or you stop and punish yourself for stopping. Either way, you suffer. Either way, you're at war with this moment. Because this moment, as it is, doesn't feel like enough. But what if rest isn't failure? What if rest is just rest? What if their movement and your stillness are not oppositions, but simply two different experiences unfolding in two different bodies, neither of which has anything to do with your worth? What if you're not falling behind because there is no behind? What if there is no race except the one you're running in your mind? You can't see this when you're inside the comparison. You can't see this when you're measuring your value by their pace. But when you stop, when you really stop, not to prove anything, not to fix anything, just to stop, you might notice something. You might notice that the exhaustion was real, that the body needed rest, that the rest was never the problem. The problem was the war you waged against the rest. And maybe, just maybe, you see that you've been carrying something that was never yours to carry. The belief that your worth is tied to your productivity. The belief that stillness is stagnation. The belief that if you're not moving, you're disappearing. But you're here, right now, still, breathing, aware. And nothing about that is failure. The tightness in your chest, the voice that says you should be doing more, the comparison that turns rest into shame, all of it is still here. And maybe it doesn't go away just because you see it. But maybe seeing it is enough. Not to fix it, not to transcend it, just to see it, to see how suffering is made, to see how the mind turns stillness into evidence, to see how rest becomes failure only when you believe the story that says it should. And in the seeing, something softens, not because you solved anything, but because you stop fighting what is. You're tired, and that's all, just tired, and maybe that's allowed. You've been moving fast for so long that stopping feels dangerous. There's always something to do, something to answer, something that can't wait. The phone vibrates and your body responds before your mind catches up. The email arrives and suddenly everything else falls away. You tell yourself it's important. You tell yourself people are counting on you, and maybe they are. But notice what happens in your chest when you imagine slowing down. Notice the tightness, the small panic that rises like a question you don't want to answer. What if you stopped being urgent? What would be left? You've built a life around motion, around response, around the feeling of being needed, of being necessary, of mattering, because you're always just about to handle the next thing. And it works, doesn't it? As long as you keep moving, you don't have to feel the emptiness underneath. As long as there's urgency, there's purpose. As long as something needs you, you exist. But watch what's actually happening. You're not responding to urgency, you're creating it. You're scanning for it. You're reaching for your phone when there's nothing there. You're refreshing, checking, anticipating the next demand before it even arrives. And when it does arrive, there's almost relief. See that? The way your body relaxes into the stress, the way the urgency feels like coming home. Because urgency gives you shape. It tells you who you are, the person who handles things, the person who shows up, the person who doesn't let others down. And without it, who are you? Just someone sitting in a quiet room, just someone with thoughts that go nowhere. Just someone whose importance isn't being confirmed every 3 minutes by the outside world. This is the grasping. Not grasping at success or control, but grasping at your own identity. Using urgency like a mirror that reflects back someone you recognize, someone solid, someone real. But notice what happens when the urgent thing is handled. There's no peace. There's just a brief pause before you're searching again. Before you're anticipating the next crisis, the next deadline, the next reason to feel like you matter. The urgency never actually completes anything. It just repeats. And you keep feeding it because stopping feels like disappearing. You've confused motion with meaning. You've confused being needed with being real. And the exhaustion you feel isn't from doing too much. It's from holding yourself together through constant action. It's from never resting in not knowing who you are. It's from running from the question that urgency keeps you from asking, what if there's nothing solid here at all? The Buddha said, you are not your thoughts, you are not your body, you are not your feelings. These are things that happen to you. Read that again slowly. These are things that happen to you. Urgency is something that happens. The feeling of being needed is something that happens. The identity of being the person who handles everything, that's something that happens too. It arises, it passes, it's not who you are. It never was. But you've been clinging to it like it's the only proof of your existence. Watch what happens when you sit still for just a moment. The urgency doesn't go away. It rises in your body like a wave. The thought comes, you should be doing something, you should check, you should respond. And underneath that thought is fear. Not fear of missing something important. Fear of the space that opens up when there's nothing to do. Fear of the quiet, where you can't define yourself by your usefulness. You've been running from that space your whole life. And maybe you'll keep running. Maybe urgency is what you'll choose over and over because it feels safer than the unknown. That's okay. There's no judgment here. But at least see it clearly. See that you're choosing it. See that the urgency isn't out there in the world demanding your attention. It's in here, in the way you reach for it, in the way you shape your life around it, in the way you use it to avoid the terrifying possibility that you might be no one in particular. Just someone breathing, just someone aware. Just someone who doesn't need to be constantly confirmed by the next notification, the next task, the next crisis. The urgency will keep calling. It always does. But now maybe you can hear what's underneath it. The quiet hum of fear, the grasping at shape, the desperate need to know who you are. And maybe, just for a moment, you can let that question remain unanswered. You open your phone again. Another task, another email. Another small thing that needs doing. And there's a kind of comfort in that, isn't there? The list never ends, so you never have to stop. You never have to be still. You never have to feel what's here. Because something is here, something you're not looking at. Maybe it's the silence in your home. Maybe it's the way your body feels tight and tired. Maybe it's the conversation you're avoiding or the decision you don't want to make. Maybe it's just the ordinary weight of being alive today, and you don't know what to do with that weight. So you do something else. You check, you plan, you organize, you stay busy. And the to-do list becomes a place to hide, not because you're weak, not because you're doing something wrong, but because it works. For a moment, it works. The list gives you purpose. It gives you direction. It gives you the feeling that you're moving forward, that you're in control, that you're handling things. And maybe you are handling things. But what are you not handling? What are you stepping over to get to the next task? There's a kind of suffering in this, a quiet one. You might not even call it suffering. You might call it productivity. You might call it responsibility. But watch what happens in your body when you finally sit down. Watch what rises when there's nothing left to do. The restlessness, the urge to find something, anything, to fill the space. The discomfort of just being here with nothing between you and yourself. That discomfort, that's what you're resisting. And the resistance itself creates more suffering. Because the present moment doesn't go away. It's still here. It's always here. The feeling you're avoiding, the silence you're filling, the uncertainty you're managing, it's all still underneath. And every time you reach for the list, you're saying, not now, not yet. I'll deal with that later. But later never comes. Later is just another now that you'll resist in the same way. So the cycle continues, task after task, day after day, and somewhere beneath it all, something in you is tired. Tired of running, tired of managing, tired of never quite arriving. The Buddha said, you can search throughout the entire universe for someone more deserving of your love and affection than you are yourself, and that person is not to be found anywhere. What if the thing you're resisting is simply yourself? Not the self you're trying to become, not the self you present to others, but the self that's here right now, the one who's uncertain, the one who's tired, the one who doesn't have it all figured out, the one who feels small sometimes, or lost or afraid. The to-do list doesn't ask you to meet that self, it asks you to improve it, to manage it, to keep it moving. And there's nothing wrong with tasks, nothing wrong with responsibility. But when the list becomes the place you live, when it becomes the way you avoid the moment you're actually in, then it's not a tool anymore, it's a shelter. And you're hiding. What are you hiding from? Maybe it's grief that hasn't been felt. Maybe it's loneliness that hasn't been acknowledged. Maybe it's the fear that if you stop, you'll realize how fragile this all is, how uncertain, how out of your control. Maybe it's the simple, unbearable truth that you can't fix everything, that some things will remain broken, that some feelings will remain uncomfortable, that some moments will just be hard, and there's nothing on your list that will change that. And so you keep adding, keep checking, keep moving, because movement feels like progress. But what if it's not progress? What if it's just movement? What if you're not moving towards something, but away from something, away from the present moment, away from what's real, away from yourself? You don't have to answer that right now. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to do anything about it, but you can notice it. You can feel the difference between doing something because it needs to be done and doing something because you need to not feel. You can feel the tightness in your chest when you reach for your phone. You can feel the relief and then the emptiness that follows the relief. You can see that the moment you're resisting is just this one, the one where you are, the one where nothing is being accomplished, the one where you're just here, breathing, alive, uncertain, the one that doesn't fit on a list. And maybe that's the moment that's been waiting for you all along. You ask yourself who you would be if you had enough time. And maybe you've been asking this for a while now. Maybe it comes up when you're rushing through the morning, or scrolling late at night, or sitting in traffic with your jaw tight. Who would I be if I had enough time? There's something underneath that question, something you're carrying. Because the question itself assumes that who you are right now isn't quite right. That the real you, the better you, the you that matters, is waiting somewhere on the other side of all this hurry. If only you had more hours. If only the days were longer. If only you could finally catch up. But notice what's happening. You're living as though time is the obstacle, as though time is what's standing between you and your real life. And so you move faster. You cut corners. You skip the pauses. You tell yourself that once things slow down, once you clear the list, once you get through this week or this month or this year, then you'll have time to be who you really are. But the days keep coming, and the list keeps growing, and you keep waiting. And who you are right now, in this moment, with exactly this much time, somehow doesn't count. This version of you, the one who's tired, the one who's behind, the one who can't quite catch up, this isn't the real you. The real you is somewhere else, somewhere in the future, somewhere beyond the rush. But look closely at what you're doing. You're rejecting this moment because it doesn't have enough space in it. You're rejecting yourself because you're not who you think you should be. And in that rejection, you create a kind of distance, a gap, between who you are and who you're supposed to be, between this life and the life you're waiting for. And that gap, that space, it aches, because you're always becoming, always preparing, always on your way to the person you'll be when you finally have time. But you never arrive, you can't arrive, because the you that you're imagining, the one with enough time, is made of time that doesn't exist yet. And when it does exist, when tomorrow comes, you'll still be here, still rushing, still behind, still waiting. The Buddha said, "The trouble is, you think you have time." And maybe that's it. Maybe the trouble isn't that you don't have enough time. Maybe the trouble is that you think there's a version of life, a version of you, that exists outside of time, beyond the pressure, beyond the incompleteness, and you're spending your life trying to get there. But this is it, this moment, this breath, this version of you, right now, with the dishes in the sink and the emails unanswered and the feeling that you're always a little bit late. This is your life, not the life you'll have later, not the person you'll become when things calm down. And when you see that, really see it, something shifts. Not because you've solved anything, not because you suddenly have more time, but because you stop waiting, you stop holding your breath. You stop living as though the real moment is somewhere else. Who would you be if you had enough time? Maybe the question itself is the problem, because it assumes that you're not enough as you are, that this moment isn't enough as it is, that life is something you'll get to, eventually, when the conditions are right. But the conditions are never right. There's always something, always more to do, always something left unfinished. And if you keep waiting for enough time, you'll wait forever. You'll wait while your life happens, while your children grow, while your body ages, while the people you love move further away. You'll wait while the moments pass, one after another, each one not quite enough, each one just a little too small to matter. And one day you'll look back and realize that all those moments you were waiting through, all those days you thought didn't count, that was your life. That was all of it. So maybe the question isn't who you would be if you had enough time. Maybe the question is who you are right now with exactly this much time, with this breath, with this heartbeat, with this unfinished day. And maybe you don't need to become anyone else. Maybe you don't need to wait for anything. Maybe you're already here, already alive, already complete, even in your incompleteness. The rushing will still be there. The list will still be there. The feeling that you're behind, that will be there too. But maybe you don't have to wait for it all to stop before you let yourself be here. Maybe you can just be here, right now, with not enough time, with too much to do, with everything still undone. And maybe that's enough.